completion. Evaluation of modular ECMA International 2024 391. Desuspend and remove it from.
And of course the bitrate is dying.
Resume the context that is now on the top of the execution context stack as the running execution. Context. If result is an abrupt completion, then I return result 10. Else assert capability record. B perform a sync block start. Capability module context 1. Return.
I don't know, this was the correct file.
7. Get imported module referrer specifier. The abstract operation get imported module takes argument.
And that's just open right here.
Your record and specifier a string and returns a module record. It performs.
So I just won't call it now.
1. Assert. Exactly one element of referrer is a record whose is specifier, since load requested modules has completed successfully on referrer prior to invoking this abstract operation. 2. Let record be the record in referrer whose is specifier. 3. Return record 6, 2, 1.
Alright, so
Referrer specify host defined payload. The host defined
in Linux at least, I don't know, this is how it seems that has to be done. If there's an easier way, that'd be great.
record or a realm record.
But that would seem too easy, I guess.
Host defined anything and payload. A graph loading state record or a promise capability record and returns unused.
At the bottom is the script. You make a file for F17, the button, and then F18, whatever, you gotta name it.
If a user clicks on
And then you gotta make them executable.
type equals but
Then you gotta make a bash file for F17, F18,
script or module at the time the import expression run.
and that calls
Happen in any situation where the host pushes execution contexts with
there's a missing step in here.
the execution context stack.
Alright, this is the full thing. So there's AutoHotkey script that actually calls to print to the screen or whatever it has to do.
An implement
That gets called by the bash file, so that's like a separate file for each of them. Yeah, like make them executable, whatever.
host environment must perform finish loading.
It's weird that the bash files are executable, but, well, I guess that makes sense.
Where result is either a normal completion containing
This is so annoying.
either sync,
And then there's the X-bind keys, that's called in startup.
comma,
I guess that starts the
same, referrer,
bash files, and then what does bash file take?
loading import,
An argument? Is this an argument? Is that how a bash file works?
where result is a normal completion. Then it must perform finish loading imported module, referrer, specifier, payload, result, with the same,
I'm just gonna make a file now and see if I get this going.
comma, the operation must treat payload as an opaque value to be passed through to finish loading imported module. The actual process performed is host defined, but typically
Oh my god!
operations are necessary to load the appropriate module
For freaking crap, damn it.
to the same module record instance. The
I can't take it.
host defined but typically in normal is.
I can't fucking take it.
Ashen process is applied to specifier as part of the mapping process. A typical normalization process would include actions such as expansion of relative and abbreviated path specifiers. 92. Copyright sign, ECMA International 2024. 6, 2, 1, 9. Finish loading imported module.
And then down here it's like you call touch to touch the file. It's so fucking creepy.
Operation finish loading imported module.
Like what? What even?
Record, a cyclic module record. Fire, a string, payload, a graph loading.
You create the file and then you touch the file. That's so freaking creepy.
Containing a module record or a throw completion and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. If result is a normal completion, then if referrer contains a record whose is specifier, then I assert that records is result be else. I append the record specifier result to referrer. If payload is a graph loading state record, then
Why does it want me to make a desktop file all of a sudden? I don't want to make a fucking desktop file.
continue module
Fuck.
load result else. A perform continue dynamic import payload result return unused. 6 2 1 1 0 get module namespace module. The abstract operation get module namespace takes argument module, an instance of a concrete subclass of module record, and returns a module namespace object or empty. It retrieves the module namespace object
What is it doing? It's not even. Oh my fucking shit.
was requested, and storing that in module for future retrieval. It performs the following steps when called. One, assert if module is a cyclic module record, then module is not new or unlinked. 2. Let namespace be module. 3. If namespace is empty, then a let exported names be module get exported names be let unambiguous names be a new empty list. See for each element name of exported names, do. I let resolution be module resolve export name. 2. If resolution is a resolved binding record, append name.
Man, the lag, it's so laggy.
D set namespace to module namespace create module unambiguous names. 4. Return namespace. 6 2 1 1 1 runtime semantics evaluation module empty return undefined module body module item list. 1. Let result be completion evaluation of module item list. 2. If result is a normal completion and result is empty, then a return undefined. 3. Return result module item list module item
Oh fucking shit.
let SLB list. 2. Let S be completion
Why is it telling me to make a desktop file?
update empty.
I am so fucking annoyed with this fucking shit.
Unresolvable names are simply excluded from the names.
Fucking shit.
All ambiguous star exports that are not explicitly requested anywhere. ECMA International 2024 393. Note the value of a module item list is T. He value of the last value producing item in the module item list. Module item. Import declaration. Return empty 1/6.
Which. Fuck this shit.
Import declaration. Import clause from clause. Import module specifier. Import clause. Imported default binding. Namespace import. Named imports. Imported default binding. Namespace import. Imported default binding. Named imports. Imported default binding. Imported binding. Namespace import. As imported binding. Named imports. Imports list. Imports list. From clause. From module specifier. Imports list. Import specifier. Imports list. Import specifier. Import specifier. Imported binding. Module export name as imported binding module specifier. String literal imported binding. Binding identifier. Yield. Plus await. 1622. 1 static semantics. Early errors. Module item. Import declaration. It is a syntax error if the bound names of import declaration contains any duplicate entries. 94. Copyright sign. ECMA International 2024. 622. Static semantics. Import entries. The syntax-directed operation import entries takes no arguments and returns a list of import entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Module. Empty. Return a new empty list. Module item list. Module item list. Module item 1. Let entries 1 be import entries of module item list.
I think someone is at ChatGPT and they're messaging back on purpose to fuck with me because this isn't even funny. There's no way chatbot is this fucking stupid.
Module item.
There's no way.
List item. Return a new empty list.
Chatbot's not that dumb. Someone's fucking with me, or someone's logged in, or some fucking shit, because that is not. That makes no sense.
2. Return import.
It's intentionally going back and forth and back and forth.
Import declaration. Import module specify.
For fuck's sake.
List. 622. 3 static semantics. Import entries for module. The syntax-directed operation import entries for module takes argument module, a string, and returns a list of import entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Import clause. Imported default binding. Namespace import 1. Let entries 1 be import entries for module of imported default binding with argument module 2. Let entries 2 be import entries for module of namespace import with argument module 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2. Import clause. Imported default binding. Named imports 1. Let entries 1 be import entries for module of imported default binding with argument module 2. Let entries 2 be import entries for module of named imports with argument module 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2.
Is that why the file wasn't working?
1.
Oh my god.
The element of bound names of imported binding. 2. Let default entry be the import entry record. Module. Default. Local name. Local name. 3. Return default entry. Namespace import. As imported binding 1. Let local name be the string value of imported binding 2. Let entry be the import entry record. Module. Namespace object. Local name. Local name 3. Return entry. ECMA International 2024 395. Named imports. Return a new empty list. Imports list. Imports list. Import specifier. 1. Let specs 1 be the import entries for module of imports list with argument module. 2. Let specs 2 be the import entries for module of import specifier with argument module. 3. Return the list concatenation of specs 1 and specs 2. Import specifier. Imported binding. 1. Let local name be the sole element of bound names of imported bind.
This is what shell script holds a bash script.
Module.
Or whatever the fuck it's called.
Local name. Local name. 3.
I would assume so. And the chatbot said, oh no, it's not a different special type, it's any kind of file.
1.
I guess it is if it's a different program. I don't know, whatever.
2. Let local name be the string value of imported binding. 3.
I just don't give a fuck. I just want to be done.
Record.
Oh my god.
Name. Local name. Local name. 4. Return entry. 6. 2. 3 export syntax. Export declaration. Export from clause. Export named exports. Export variable statement. Yield plus await. Export declaration. Yield plus.
I gotta make sure the chat's off.
Yield plus.
Because I said off, so it should be off, but it wasn't off last time.
Yield plus await.
And then someone may message, and then I'll miss it.
Function async.
It'll be like hours later. By the time I notice.
Class.
What is the point in settings if they don't set?
Yield plus await. Export.
There is no point.
Named exports. Named exports. Exports list. Exports list. Exports list. Export specifier. Exports list. Export specifier. Export specifier. Module export name. 96. ECMA International 2024. Module export name as module export name. 6, 2, 3, 1 static semantics. Early errors. Export declaration. Export named exports. Comma, it is a syntax error if reference bindings of named exports contains any string literals. Comma, for each identifier name n in referenced bindings of named exports, it is a syntax error if string value of n is a reserved word or the string.
Alright, whatever I was doing over here.
Let, package, private, protected, public, or static. Six, 2, 3, 2 static semantics. Exported bindings. The syntax-directed operation exported bindings takes no arguments and returns a list of strings. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Module item list. Module item list. Module item 1. Let names 1 be exported bindings of module item list. 2. Let names 2 be exported bindings of module item 3. Return the list concatenation of names 1 and names 2. Module item. Import declaration. Statement list item. Return a new empty list. Export declaration. Export
I'll probably break if I rename things.
new empty list. Export declaration. Export named exports. Return the exported bindings of named exports. Export declaration. 1. Return the bound names of variable statement. Export declaration. Export declaration 1.
I'll just name this one.
Export declaration. Export default hoistable declaration. Export default class declaration. Export default assignment expression. Return the bound names of this export declaration. Note the above rule means that each reference bindings of named exports is treated as an identifier reference. Note exported bindings are the locally bound names that are explicitly associated with the module's exported names. ECMA International 2024 397. Named exports. Return a new empty list. Exports list. Exports list. Export specifier. 1. Let names 1 be the exported bindings of exports list. 2. Let names 2 be the exported bindings of export specifier.
Alright, so now I should put this in and it should run.
Concatenation of names 1 and
Oh, please just work.
export specifier. Module export name. Return a list whose sole element is the string value of module export name. Export specifier. Module export name as module export name. Return a list whose sole element is the string value of the first module export name. 6, 2, 3, 3 static semantics. Exported names. The syntax-directed operation exported names takes no arguments and returns a list of strings. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Module item list. Module item list. Module item 1. Let names 1 be exported names of module item list. 2. Let names 2 be exported names of module item 3. Return the list concatenation of names 1 and names 2. Module item. Export declaration. Return the exported names of export declaration.
I hate...
Declaration.
I turned off the change focus to other window. So now like it opens a file. I don't know where it opened. But if I leave that on, it makes way more problems than I need. Because now it drags a window to some other fucking desktop. Or it switches a desktop. Freaking goes berserk and gets stuck.
Value of module export name.
Oh, now this button's working. Okay, that's cool.
Return the
I wasn't saying this won't even work. No. Now it seems to be working. So that's great.
4. Note
Working for now at least.
names that a module explicit.
Till whenever it's not, then it's not working. Because if it's not working, it means it isn't working. Because when it is, then it is. It's usually not working. Oh my god.
Export variable statement 1. Return the bound names of variable statement. Export declaration. Export declaration 1. Return.
What the hell is this shebang line?
Export declaration. Export default.
I mean, they got it's called like the man directories or something, and they got shebang. What even?
Named.
And they got it's like to touch the file. So it has a shebang file. It has a shebang line. You touch the file. This is just, yeah.
1. Let names 1 be the exported names of exports list. 2. Let names 2.
Oh no, you bash the file that has shebang.
3.
You bash the script, and the script has
Export specify.
starts off with the shebang.
Return a list whose sole element is the string value of module export name. Export specifier. Module export name as module export name. Return a list whose sole element is the string value of the second module export name. 6, 2, 3,
Right here.
6. Export entries. The syntax direct.
There is no way it was not intended to imply that meaning.
Following productions.
There's no way it's not intended to mean that. There's no way. There's no misunderstanding. Is it literally done entirely on purpose? That is ridiculous.
Return a new empty list. Module item list.
Oh, this is such a waste of time.
1. Let entries 1 be export entries of module item list. 2. Let entries 2 be export entries of module item. 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2. Module item. Import declaration. Statement list item. Return a new empty list. Export declaration. Export from clause 1. Let module be the sole element of module requests of from clause.
So,
Returning.
open terminal here.
Export from clause with argument module. ECMA into
Paste.
99. Export declaration. Export named exports. Return export entries for module of named exports with argument null. Export declaration. Export variable statement 1. Let entries be a new empty list.
So, I think that worked.
And names of variable statement. 3. For each element name of names, do A. Append the export entry record, null, name, to entries. Return entries. Export declaration 1. Let entries be a new empty list. 2. Let names be the bound names of declaration. 3. For each element name of names, do A append the export entry record, null, name.
It didn't work.
To entries, return entries, export declaration, export default hoistable declaration. 1. Let names be bound names of hoistable declaration. 2. Let local name be the sole element of names. 3. Return a list whose sole element is a new export entry record, null, local name, default.
Not like I was expecting it to work.
Export declaration, export default class declaration. 1. Let names be bound names of class declaration. 2. Let
Fucking shit.
3.
It's not even that kind of a file.
Element is a new
Oh my god.
null, local name, default. Export declaration, export default assignment expression. 1. Let entry be the export entry record, null, default. 2. Return entry. 6, 2, 3, 5 static semantics. Export entries for module. The syntax-directed operation export entries for module takes argument module, a string or null, and returns a list of export entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Export from clause. 2. Let entry be the export entry record, module, all but default, null, re. Turn entry, 0, 0. ECMA International 2024. Note default is used within this specification as a synthetic name for anonymous default export values. See this note for more details. Export from one 5, 1 0, 3 prepare for tail call. The abstract operation prepare for tail call takes no arguments and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert. The current execution context will not subsequently be used for the evaluation of any ECMA script code or built-in functions. The invocation of call subsequent to the invocation of this abstract operation will create and push a new execution context before performing any such evaluation. 2. Discard all resources associated with the current execution context. 3. Return unused. A tail position call must either release any transient internal resources associated with the currently executing function execution context before invoking the target function or reuse those resources in support of the target function. 6. ECMA script language. Scripts and modules. 6.1 Script syntax. Script body opt. Script body. Statement list. Yield. Await. Return. 6. 1. 1 static semantics. Early errors. Script body, it is a syntax error if the lexically declared names of script body contains any duplicate entries. It is a syntax error if any element of the lexically declared names of script body also occurs in the are declared names of script body. Script body, statement list. It is a syntax error if statement list contains super unless the source text containing super is eval code that is being processed by a direct eval. Additional early error rules for super with indirect eval are defined in 1.9.2.1.1. It is a syntax error if statement list contains new target unless the source text containing new target is eval code that is being processed by a direct eval. Additional early error rules for new target in direct eval are defined in 192.1.1. It is a syntax error if contains duplicate labels of statement list with argument is true. It is a syntax error if contains undefined break target of statement list with argument is true. It is a syntax error if capital C O N T A I N S capital U N D E F I N E D capital C O N T I N U E capital T A R G E of statement list with arguments and is true. It is a syntax error if all private identifiers valid of statement list with argument is false unless the source text containing script body is eval code that is being processed by a direct eval. Note, for example, a tail position call should only grow an implementation's activation record stack by the amount that the size of the target function's activation record exceeds the size of the calling function's activation record. If the target function's activation record is smaller, then the total size of the stack should decrease. 64. ECMA International 2024. 6. 1. 2. Static semantics is strict. The syntax-directed operation is strict, takes no arguments and return.
Why the hell?
Find piecewise over the following productions. Script body opt. If script
Did Jeff have me make it
script body contains a use string
in here last time? This is so stupid.
Return false. 1.3 Runtime semantics. Evaluation. Script empty. Return undefined. 6. 1. 4 script records. A script record encapsulates information about a script being evaluated. Each script record contains the fields listed in Table 40. Table 40. Script record fields. Field name, value type, meaning, realm, a realm record or undefined. The realm within which this script was created undefined if not yet assigned. ECMA script code, a script parse node. The result of parsing the source text of this script. Loaded modules, a list of records with fields, a string, and a module record, a map from the specifier strings imported by this script to the resolved module record. The list does not contain two different records with the same host defined. Anything default value is empty. Field reserved for use by host environments that need to associate additional information with the script. 6. 1. 5 parse script. Source text. Realm. Host defined. The abstract operation parse script takes arguments source text. ECMA.
So I gotta make another file to call the file? Holy fuck.
Host defined and
Freaking fileception.
empty list of syntax error objects. It creates a script record based upon the result of parsing source text as a script. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let script be parse text, source text, script. 2. If script is a list of errors, return script. 3. Return script record, realm, script. Host defined. Note an implementation may parse script source text and analyze it for early error conditions prior to evaluation of parse script for that script source text. However, the reporting of any errors must be deferred until the point where this specification actually performs parse script upon that source text. ECMA International 2024 365. 6. 1. 6 Script evaluation. Script record. The abstract operation script evaluation takes argument script record, a script record, and returns either a normal completion containing an EC
What
value.
do I even name it?
It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let global env be script record. 2. Let script context be a new ECMA script code execution context. 3. Set the function of script context to null. 4. Set the realm of script context to script record. 5. Set the script or module of script context to script record. 6. Set the variable environment of script context to global env. 7. Set the lexical environment of script context to global env. 8. Set the private environment of script context to null. 9. Suspend the running execution context. 10. Push script context onto the execution context stack. Script context is now the running
This is so boring. I have to give it a stupid name. I'm gonna be stuck with it.
Let result be completion. Global declaration.
This is getting old.
Global env. 13. If result is a normal completion, then a set result to completion. Evaluation of script. B. If result is a normal completion and result is empty, then I set result to normal completion. Undefined. 14. Suspend script context and remove it from the execution context stack.
I'll just name it to run.
Execution context stack is not empty. 16.
There we go.
The context that is now on the top of the execution context stack is the running execution context. 17. Return result. 6. 1. 7. Global declaration instantiation. Script. env. The abstract operation global declaration instantiation takes argument script, a script parse node, and env, a global environment record, and returns either a normal completion containing unused or a throw completion. Script is the script for which the execution context is being established. env is the global environment in which bindings are to be created. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let lex names be the lexically declared names of script. 2. Let var names be the var declared names of script. 3. For each element name of lex names, do, if env has var declaration, name, is true, throw a syntax error exception. B. If env has lexical declaration, name, is true, throw a syntax error exception. C. Let has restricted global. B. env has restricted global property, name. D. If his restricted global is true, throw a syntax error exception. 4. For each element name of var names, do, if env has lexical declaration, name, is true, throw a syntax error exception. 5. Let var declarations be the var scope declarations of script. 6. Let functions to initialize be a new empty list. 7. Let declared function names be a new empty list. 8. For each element d of var declarations, in reverse list order, do. 66. ECMA International 2024. Note 1. When an execution context is established for evaluating scripts, declarations are instantiated in the current global environment. Each global binding declared in the code is instantiated. A. If D is not either a variable declaration, a for binding, or a binding identifier, then I. 2. 3. Assert. D is either a function declaration, a generator declaration, an async function declaration, or an async generator declaration. Note: if there are multiple function declarations for the same name, the last declaration is used. Let fn be the sole element of the bound names of D. If declared function names does not contain fn, then let fn definable be env can declare global function fn. 2. If fn definable is false, throw a type error exception. 3. Append fn to declared function names. 4. Insert D as the first element of functions to initialize. 9. Let declared var names be a new empty list. 10. For each element D of var declarations, do, if D is either a variable declaration, a for binding, or a binding identifier, then I for each string vn of the bound names of D, do. If declared funct iron names does not contain vn, then a let vn definable be env can declare global var vn. B. If vn definable is false, throw a type error exception. C. If declared var names does not contain vn, then I append vn to declared var names. 11. Note: no abnormal terminations occur after this algorithm step if the global object is an ordinary object. However, if the global object is a proxy exotic object, it may exhibit behaviors that cause abnormal terminations in some of the following steps. 12. Note: an xb 3 2 adds additional steps at this point. 13. Let lex declarations be the lexically scoped declarations of script. 14. Let private env be null. 15. For each element D.
This better work.
A note: lexically declared names are only instantiated here but not initialized. B. For each element dn of the bound names of D, do I if this constant declaration of D is true, then perform env create immutable binding. Dn true. 2. else perform env create mutable binding, dn, false. 16. For each parse node f of functions to initialize, do a let fn be the sole element of the bound names of f, b let fo be instantiate function object of f with arguments env and private env, c perform env create global function binding, fn, fo, false. 17. For each string vn of declared var names, do a perform env create global var binding, vn, false. 8. Return unused. Note 2. Early errors specified in 1.6.1. 1. Prevent name conflicts between function var declarations and let const
It's running.
as well as redeclaration of let const class bindings for declaration contained within a single script. However, such conflicts and redeclarations that span more than one script are detected as runtime errors during global declaration instantiation. If any such errors are detected, no bindings are instantiated for the script. However, if the global object is defined using proxy exotic objects, then the runtime tests for conflicting declarations may be unreliable, resulting in an abrupt completion and some global declarations not being instantiated. If this occurs, the code for the script is not evaluated. Unlike explicit var or function declarations, properties that are directly created on the global object result in global bindings that may be shadowed by let const class declarations. 6.2 Modules syntax. Module body opt, module body, module item list, module item list, module item list, module item. ECMA International 2024 367. Module item, import declaration, export declaration, statement list item, yield, plus await, return, module export name, identifier name, string literal. 6, 2, 1 module semantics. 6, 2, 1, 1 static semantics. Early errors. Module body. Module item list, it is a syntax error if the lexically declared names of module item list contains any duplicate entries. It is a syntax error if any element of the lexically declared names of module item list also occurs in the are declared names of module item list. It is a syntax error if the exported names of module item list contains any duplicate entries. It is a syntax error if any element of the exported bindings of module item list does not also occur in either the are declared names of module item list or the lexically declared names of module item list. It is a syntax error if module item list contains super. It is a syntax error if module item list contains new target. It is a syntax error if contains duplicate labels of module item list with argument is true. It is a syntax error if contains undefined break target of module item list with argument is true. It is a syntax error if capital C O N T A I N S capital U N D E F I N E D capital C
Oh my god, this thing is so dumb.
N U E capital T A R G E a module item list with arguments and is true. It is a syntax error if all private identifiers valid of module item list with argument is false. Module export name. String literal. It is a syntax error if is string well-formed Unicode. The SV of string literal is false. 6, 2, 1. 2 static semantics. Imported local names. Import entries. The abstract operation imported local names takes argument import entries, a list of import entry records, and returns a list of strings. It creates a list of all of the local name bindings defined by import entries. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let local names be a new empty list. 2. For each import entry record I of import entries, do a append I to local names. 3. Return local names. 6, 2, 1. 3 static semantics. Module requests. The syntax-directed operation module requests takes no arguments and returns a list of strings. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Module empty. Return a new empty list. The duplicate exported names rule implies that multiple export default export declaration items. Note, within a module body is a syntax error. Additional error conditions relating to conflicting or duplicate declarations are checked during module linking prior to evaluation of a module. If any such errors are detected, the module is not evaluated. 68. ECMA International 2024. Module item list. Module item. Return module requests of module item. Module item list. Module item list. Module item 1. Let module names be module requests of module item list. 2. Let additional names be module requests of module item. 3. For each string name of additional names, do, if module names does not contain name, then I append name to module names. Return module names. Module item. Statement list item. Return a new empty list. Import declaration. Import clause from clause. Return module requests of from clause. Module specifier. String literal. Return a list whose sole element is the SV of string literal. Export declaration. Export from clause. Return the module requests of from clause. Export declaration. Export named exports. Export variable statement. Export declaration. Export default hoistable declaration. Export default class declaration. Export default assignment expression. Return a new empty list 1621. For abstract module records, a module record encapsulates structural information about the imports and exports of a single module. This information is used to link the imports and exports of sets of connected modules. A module record includes 4 fields that are only used when evaluating a module. For specification purposes, module record values are values of the record specification type and can be thought of as existing in a simple, object-oriented hierarchy where module record is an abstract class with both abstract and concrete subclasses. This specification defines the abstract subclass named cyclic module record and its concrete subclass named source text module record. Other specifications and implementations may define additional module record subclasses corresponding to alternative module definition facilities that they defined. Module record defines the fields listed in Table 41. All module definition subclasses include at least those fields. Module record also defines the abstract method list in Table 42. All module definition subclasses must provide concrete implementations of these abstract methods. ECMA International 2024 369. Table 41. Module record fields. Field name. Value type. Meaning. Realm. A realm record. The realm within which this module was created. Environment. A module environment record or empty. The environment record containing the top-level bindings for this module. This field is set when the module is linked. Namespace. An object or empty. The module namespace object. 28.3. If one has been created for this module. Host defined. Anything default value is undefined. Field reserved for use by host environments that need to associate additional information with a module. Table 42. Abstract methods of module records. Method. Purpose. Load requested modules. Host defined. Prepares the module for linking by recursively loading all its dependencies. And returns a promise. Get exported names. Export star set. Return a list of all names that are either directly or indirectly exported from this module. Load requested modules must have completed successfully prior to invoking this method. Resolve export. Export name. Resolve set. Return the binding of a name exported by this module. Bindings are represented by a resolved binding record.
Oh, there's so much lag. I feel like it's not going to start up if I restart. That's not good.
Object without a direct
Dang it.
base. Return null if the name cannot be resolved, or ambiguous if multiple bindings were found. Each time this operation is called with a specific export name, resolve set pairs arguments, it must return the same result. Load requested modules must have completed successfully prior to invoking this method. Link. Prepare the module for evaluatio. End by transitively resolving all module dependencies and creating a module environment record. Load requested modules must have completed successfully prior to invoking this method. Evaluate. Returns a promise for the evaluation of this module and its dependencies, resolving on successful evaluation or if it has already been evaluated successfully, and rejecting for an evaluation error or if it has already been evaluated unsuccessfully. If the promise is rejected, hosts are expected to handle the promise rejection and rethrow the evaluation error. Link must have completed successfully prior to invoking this method. 70. ECMA International 2024. 6. 2. 1. 5 cyclic module records. A cyclic module record is used to represent information about a module that can participate in dependency cycles with other modules that are subclasses of the cyclic module record type. Module records that are not subclasses of the cyclic module record type must not participate in dependency cycles with source text module records. In addition to the fields defined in Table 41, cyclic module records have the additional fields listed in Table 43. Table 43. Additional fields of cyclic module records: field name, value type, meaning, status, new, unlinked, linking, linked, evaluating, evaluating async, or evaluated, initially new. Transitions to unlinked, linking, linked, evaluating, possibly evaluating async, evaluated, in that order, as the module progresses throughout its lifecycle.
I don't even care anymore.
Module is queued to execute on completion of its asynchronous dependencies, or it is a module whose field is true that has been executed and is pending top-level completion. Evaluation error. A throw completion or empty. A throw completion representing the exception that occurred during evaluation, undefined if no exception occurred or if is not evaluated. DFS index. An integer or empty auxiliary field used during link and evaluate only. If is either linking or evaluating. This non-negative number records the point at which the module was first visited during the depth-first traversal of the dependency graph. DFS ancestor index. An integer or empty auxiliary field used during link.
Finally. Oh my god. Finally.
The module's own strongly
It fucking works.
modules. A list of strings. A list of.
I cannot believe it takes 4 files
By this record to request the importation of a module.
to simply.
Order loaded.
Holy shit. 4 files. The first file has to call the format of the files that are being called,
To request the import.
because it doesn't know what kind of file it is unless it's called with -f, and in front of it is whatever the fucking program it is.
The first visited module.
So that's a file, which calls the file that actually holds the contents of what that type is.
This would be
And that file holds 2 bash files,
a module.
and those are the Linux executable files.
1.
So those had to be special privilege.
Click
You gotta fucking tag them or some shit. And those files, they call the other files that then call the script, because it gets passed into the script program.
Await. Having an asynchronous dependency does not.
And each key combination gets its own file for a file for a file.
Evaluation. A boolean.
Holy crap.
Either itself async.
That's ridiculous.
Note. The order in which this field is set is used to order queued executions. C16, 2, 1, 5, 3, 4. Top level capability. A. Promise.
And there's a huge delay with these. Dang it.
Module in that cycle. This field contains the promise capability record for that entire evaluation. It is used to settle the promise object that is returned from the evaluate abstract method. This field will be empty for any dependencies of that module, unless a top-level evaluate has been initiated for some of those dependencies. Async parent modules. A list of cyclic module records. If this module or a dependency has true, and execution is in progress, this tracks the parent importers of this module for the top-level execution job. These parent modules will not start executing before this module has successfully completed execution. Pending async dependencies. An integer or empty. If this module has any asynchronous dependencies, this tracks the number of asynchronous dependency modules remaining to execute for this module. A module with asynchronous dependencies will be executed when this field reaches 0 and there are no execution errors. In addition to the methods defined in Table 42, cyclic module records have the additional methods listed in Table 44. Table 44. Additional abstract methods of cyclic module records. Method. Purpose. Initialize environment. Initialize the environment record of the module.
And I hate when they call something like xbind source.
Create the module.
It doesn't mean anything, it's just a fucking name.
Promise capability.
Everybody uses the same fucking name, but it doesn't matter what it's named. That's so annoying.
module has true in, then a promise
It's like calling an event E to stand for event. Like, annoying.
In this case, the method must not throw an exception, but instead reject the promise capability record if necessary. A graph loading state record is a record that contains information about the loading process of a module graph. It's used to continue load ng after a call to host load imported module. Each graph loading state record has the fields defined in Table 45.72, copyright sign, ECMA International 2024. Table 45. Graph loading state record fields. Field name, value type, meaning, promise capability. A promise capability record. The promise to resolve when the loading process finishes is loading. A boolean, it is true if the loading process has not finished yet. Neither successfully nor with an error. Pending modules count. A non-negative integer. It tracks the number of pending host load imported module calls. Visited. A list of cyclic module records. It is a list of the cyclic module records that have been already loaded by the current loading process. To avoid infinite loops with circular dependencies. Host-defined. Anything default value is empty. It contains host-defined data to pass from the load requested module's caller to host load imported module. 6.
Alright, so now I want to know when F17 with super is fucking pressed.
The load requested module's concrete method of a cyclic module record module takes optional
Because at this point,
a promise. It populates.
it's a goddamn freaking shell calling a bash that has executable permission. If it is not able to actually get the fucking key, man, I'll be pissed. Because that means that this isn't done and I gotta figure it out.
Is not present.
All I need is like the freaking... so boring.
Is %3. Let state be the
I want to get to programming. This is not programming.
ability.
This is setting up a stupid OS.
Perform in a module loading. State. Module 5. Return PC 6 2 1 5 1 1 in a module loading. State. Module. The abstract operation in a module loading takes argument state, a graph loading state record, and module, a module record, and returns unused. It is used by load requested modules to recursively perform the actual loading process for modules dependency graph. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert. State is true. 2. If a module is a cyclic module record, module is new, and state does not contain module, then A append module to state. B let requested modules count be the number of elements in module. C set state to state plus requested modules count. D for each string required of module. Do I if module contains a record whose is required. Then 1. Let record be that record. 2. Perform in a module loading. State. Record 2. Else, note the host-defined parameter can be used to pass additional information necessary to fetch the imported modules. It is used, for example, by HTML to set the correct fetch destination for link rel equals preloaders equals tags import. Expressions never set the host-defined parameter. ECMA International 2024 373. 1. Perform host load imported module. Module. Required. State. State. 2. Note. Host load imported module will call finish loading imported module, which re-enters the graph loading process through continue module loading. 3. If state is false, return unused. 3. Assert. State 1. 4. Set state to state 1. 5. If state equals 0, then assert.
Do these run in the file that they're started in the folder or in the stupid home or whatever? Oh, this is so dumb.
Call. State. Undefined. Undefined. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 5. 1. To continue module loading. State. Module completion. The abstract operation continue module loading takes argument state, a graph loading state record, and module completion, either a normal completion containing a module record or a throw completion, and returns unused. It is used to re-enter the loading process after a call to host load imported module. It performs the following steps when called. 1. If state is false, return unused. 2. If a module completion is a normal completion, then a perform in a module loading state module completion. 3. Else a set state to false be perform call state undefined.
So it must be this file then.
4. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 5. To link. The link concrete method of a cyclic module record module takes no arguments and returns either a normal completion containing unused or a throw completion. On success, link transitions this modules from unlinked to linked. On failure, an exception is thrown and this modules remains unlinked. Most of the work is done by the auxiliary function in a module linking. It 1. Assert. Module is one of unlinked, linked, evaluating a sync, or evaluated. 2. Let stack be a new empty list. 3. Let result be completion, in a module linking, module, stack, 0, 4. If result is an abrupt completion, then, a for each cyclic module record m of stack. Do I assert, m is linking. 2. Set m to unlinked, b assert, module is unlinked, c return result. 5. Assert, module is one of linked, evaluating a sync, or evaluated. 6. Assert, stack is empty. 7. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 5. 2. 1 in a module linking, module, stack, index. The abstract operation in a module linking takes arguments module, a module record, stack, a list of cyclic module records, and index, a non-negative integer, and returns either a normal completion containing a non-negative integer or a throw completion. It is used by link to perform the actual linking process for module, as well as recursively on all other modules in the dependency graph. The stack and index parameters, as well as of the depth first search, DFS, traversal, 74, copyright sign, ECMA International 2024, in particular, is used to discover strongly connected components, SCCs, such that all modules in an SCC transition to link together. It performs the following steps when called. 1. If a module is not a cyclic module record, then a perform module link be return index. 2. If a module is one of linking, linked, evaluating a sync, or evaluated, then a return index. 3. Assert, module is unlinked. 4. Set module to linking. 5. Set module to index. 6. Set module to index. 7. Set index to index plus 1. 8. Append module to stack. 9. For each string required of module, do a let required module be get imported module, module, required be set index 2. In a module linking, required module, stack, index, see if required module is a cyclic module record. Then, I assert, required module is one of linking, linked, evaluating a sync, or evaluated. 2. Assert, required module is linking if and only if stack contains required module. 3. If required module is linking, then set module to min, module, required module. 10. Perform module initialize environment. 11. Assert, module occurs exactly once in stack. 12. Assert, module. 13. If a module equals module, then a let done be false. Be repeat. World un is false. I let required module be the last element of stack. 2. Remove the last element of stack. 3. Assert, required module is a cyclic module record. 5. Set required module to linked. V. If required module and module are the same module record, set done to true. 14. Return index. 6. 2. 1. 5. 3. Evaluate. The evaluate concrete method of a cyclic module record module takes no arguments and returns a promise. Evaluate transitions this modules from linked to either evaluating a sync or evaluated. The first time it is called on a module in a given strongly connected component, evaluate creates and returns a promise which resolves when the module has finished evaluating. This promise is stored in the field of the for the component. Future invocations of evaluate on any module in the component return the same promise. Most of the work is done by the auxiliary function in a module evaluation. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert, This call to evaluate is not happening at the same time as another call to evaluate within the surrounding agent. 2. Assert. Module is one of linked, evaluating async, or evaluated. 3. If module is either evaluating async or evaluated, set module to module. 4. If a module is not empty, then a return module. 5. Let stack be a new empty list. 6. Let capability be new promise capability, %promise %. 7. Set module to capability. 8. Let result be completion in a module evaluation. Module stack 0. 9. If result is an abrupt completion, then for each cyclic module record M of stack, do I assert M is evaluating.
I hope this will work.
375. 2. Set M to evaluated. 3. Set M to result. B assert. Module is evaluated. C assert. Module is result. D perform. Call. Capability. Undefined. Result. 0. Else. A assert. Module is either evaluating async or evaluated. B assert. Module is empty. C if module is false, then I assert. Module is evaluated. 2. Perform. Call. Capability. Undefined. Undefined. D assert. Stack is empty. 1. Return capability. 6. 2. 1. 5. 3. 1 in a module evaluation. Module. Stack. Index. The abstract operation in a module evaluation takes arguments module, a module record, stack, a list of cyclic module records, and index, a non-negative integer, and returns either a normal completion containing a non-negative integer or a throw completion. It is used by evaluate to perform the actual evaluation process for module, as well as recursively on all other modules in the dependency graph. The stack and index parameters, as well as modules and fields, are used the same way as in a module linking. It performs the following steps when called. If a module is not a cyclic module record, then a let promise be module evaluate. B assert. Promise is not pending. C if promise is rejected, then I return throw completion. Promise D return index. 2. If module is either evaluating async or evaluated, then if module is empty, return index. B otherwise, return module. 3. If module is evaluating, return index. 4. Assert. Module is linked. 5. Set module to evaluating. 6. Set module to index. 7. Set module to index. 8. Set module to 0. 9. Set index to index plus 1. 10. Append module to stack. 11. For each string required of module, do a let require D module be get imported module. Module required B set index 2. In a module evaluation, required module stack index. See if required module is a cyclic module record. Then I assert required module is one of evaluating async, or evaluated. 2. Assert required module is evaluating if and only if stack contains required module. 3. If required module is evaluating, then set module to min. Module required module if. Else 1. Set required module to required module. 2. Assert required module is either evaluating async or evaluated. 3. If required module is not empty, return required module v. If required module is true, then 1. Set module to module plus 1. 2. Append module to required module. 2. If a module 0 or module is true, then 76. ECMA International 2024. AB. Assert. Module is false and was never previously set to true. Set module to true. See note. The order in which module records have their fields transition to true is significant. C1 6. 2. 1.
Why is Jetpack so dumb? Oh my god.
Perform execute async module. Module 13. Else. A perform module execute module. 14. Assert. Module occurs exactly once in stack. 15. Assert. Module 16. If a module equals module, then a let done be false. B repeat. World un is false. I let required module be the last element of stack. 2. Remove the last element of stack. 3. Assert. Required module is a cyclic module record. If required module is false, set required module to evaluated. Otherwise, set required module to evaluating async. If required module and module are the same module record, set done to true. 7. Set required module to module. 17.
Oh my god. I said no, it's already running. How do I stop it to run again without restarting?
Execution completion or evaluating field is true, or if it has a synchronous
And chatbot says you've already started running from auto start. You want to immediately restart it by clicking the triangle without rebooting or logging out. It says modify your script. The script is already running. For fuck's sake.
through its root module state. 6, 2, 1, 5, 3, to execute a sync module. The abstract operation execute a sync module takes argument module, a cyclic module record, and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert. Module is either evaluating or evaluating async. 2. Assert. Module is true. 3. Let capability be new promise capability, %promise %. 4.
That's fucking stupid. It's fucking shit. This is so dumb.
As module and performs the following steps when called.
This is the dumbest shit ever.
Module be return undefined. 5. Let unfulfilled be created.
I gotta fucking paste to the top, save it, and then click play or start when it's already started.
Abstract closure with parameter.
This is so dumb.
And performs the following steps when called. A performance and module execution rejected. Module.
This is so annoying.
7.
It takes so much extra work to fucking open a file, modify it, save it.
Perform promise then. Capability unfulfilled.
I gotta fucking add this here,
Module execute module
comment this out, hit save.
used.
Then I gotta go over here.
5, 3, gather.
Then I gotta go over to here,
Exec list.
find it right here.
Gather available ancestors takes arguments module, a cyclic module record, and exec list, a list of cyclic module records, and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. For each cyclic module record M of module, do. If exec list does not contain M and M is empty, then I assert M is evaluated.
Why does this one have the fucking triangle?
24,377.
Oh my god.
3. Assert M is true. Assert.
It had a triangle last time. That's how I started in the first place. But now it's not there. So I can't end it?
Append M to exec list. 2. If M is false, perform gather available ancestors M exec list. Return
I seriously hate this shit.
1, 5, 3, 4 async module execution fulfilled.
Let's just try this first.
Operation async module execution fulfilled takes argument module, a cyclic module record, and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. 1. If
In case it somehow saves the state and screws it up.
module is not empty, be return unused. 2. Assert. Module is evaluating async. 3. Assert. Module is true. 4. Assert. Module is empty. 5. Set module to false. 6.
Alright, the keys work for now.
7. If a module is not empty, assert. Module is module. Be perform. Call. Module. Undefined. 8. Let exec list be a new empty list. 9. Perform gather available ancestors. Module. Exec list. 10. Let sorted exec list be a list whose elements are the elements of exec list, in the order in which they had their fields set to true and in a module evaluation. 11. Assert. All elements of sorted exec list have K are fields set to true.
The system is restarted, so I have to fucking restart? Oh my god, this is so dumb.
Record M of sorted exec list. Do.
Why doesn't it log out? It should log out on the first click. Oh well, at least now I can click shutdown. Because it didn't fucking log out.
Module 2. If result is an abrupt completion, then performance and module execution rejected. M. Result 3. else 1. Set M to evaluated 2. If M is not
This is taking way too long to set up. Oh my god.
defined, undefined 3. Return unused 6, 2, 1, 5.
I'm gonna go question if Windows was actually that bad. Well, it was. They're both bad. This sucks.
It takes arguments module, a cyclic module record, and error, an ECMA script language value, and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. 1. If module is evaluated, then note when an asynchronous execution for a root module is fulfilled. This function determines the list of modules which are able to synchronously execute together on this completion, populating them in execlist. 78. ECMA International 2024. Assert. Module is not empty. B. Return unused. 2. Assert. Module is evaluating async. 3. Assert. Module is true. 4. Assert. Module is empty. 5. Set module to throw completion. Error. 6. Set module to evaluated. 7. For each cyclic module record M of module, do a performance and module execution rejected. M. Error. 8. If a module is not empty, then assert. Module is module. B. Perform. Call. Module. Undefined. Error. 9. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 5. For example, cyclic module record graphs. This non-normative section gives a series of examples of the linking and evaluation of a few common module graphs, with a specific focus on how errors can occur. First, consider the following simple module graph. Figure 2. A simple module graph. Capital A, capital B, capital C. Let's first assume that there are no error conditions. When a host first calls a load requested modules, this will complete successfully by assumption, and recursively load the dependencies of B and C as well, respectively, C and none, and then set A equals B equals C equals unlinked. Then, when the host calls a link, it will complete successfully, again by assumption, such that A equals B equals C equals linked. These preparatory steps can be performed at any time. Later, when the host is ready to incur any possible side effects of the modules, it can call evaluate, which will complete successfully, returning a promise result. Moving to undefined, again by assumption, recursively having evaluated first C and then B. Each modules at this point will be evaluated. Consider then cases involving linking errors after a successful call to a load requested modules. If in a module linking of C succeeds but, thereafter, fails for B, for example because it imports something that C does not provide, then the original A link will fail, and both A and B's remain unlinked. C's has become linked, though. Finally, consider a case involving evaluation errors after a successful call to link. If in a module evaluation of C succeeds but, thereafter, fails for B, for example because B contains code that throws an exception, then the original A evaluate will fail, returning a rejected promise. The resulting exception will be recorded in both A and B's fields, and they will become evaluated. C will also become evaluated but, in contrast to A and B, will remain without an, as it successfully completed evaluation. Storing the exception ensures that any time a host tries to reuse A or B by calling their evaluate method, it will encounter the same exception. Hosts are not required to reuse cyclic module records. Similarly, hosts are not required to expose the exception objects thrown by these methods. However, the specification enables such uses. Now consider a different type of error condition. ECMA International 2024 379. Figure 3. A module graph with an unresolvable module. Capital A, question mark. In this scenario, module A declares a dependency on some other module, but no module record exists for that module. That is, host load imported module calls finished loading imported module with an exception when asked for it. This could occur for a variety of reasons, such as the corresponding resource not existing, or the resource existing but parse module returning some errors when trying to parse the resulting source text. Hosts can choose to expose the cause of failure via the completion they pass to finished loading imported module. In any case, this exception causes a loading failure. which results in A's remaining new. The difference here between loading, linking and evaluation errors is due to the following characteristic. Evaluation must be only performed once, as it can cause side effects. It is thus important to remember whether evaluation has already been performed, even if unsuccessfully, in the error case. It makes sense to also remember the exception because otherwise subsequent evaluate calls would have to synthesize a new one. Linking, on the other hand, is side effect free, and thus even if it fails, it can be retried at a later time with no issues. Loading closely interacts with the host, and it may be desirable for some of them to allow users to retry failed loads. For example, if the failure is caused by temporarily bad network conditions. Now, consider a module graph with a cycle, figure 4. A cyclic module graph, BC. Here we assume that the entry point is module A, so that the host proceeds by calling a load requested modules, which performs in a module loading on A. This in turn calls in a module loading on B and C because of the cycle. This again triggers in a module loading on A, but at this point it is a no-op since A's dependencies loading has already been triggered during this load requested modules process. When all the modules in the graph have been successfully loaded, their transitions from new to unlinked at the same time. Then the host proceeds by calling a link, which performs in a module linking on A. This in turn calls in a module linking on B because of the cycle. This again triggers in a module linking on A, but at this point it is a no-op since A is already linking. B itself remains linking when control gets back to A, and in a module linking is triggered on C. After this returns with C being linked. Both A and B transition from linking to linked together. This is by design. Since they form a strongly connected component, it's possible to transition the status of modules in the same SCC at the same time because during this phase the module graph is traversed with a depth-first search. An analogous story occurs for the evaluation phase of a cyclic module graph. In the success case, now consider a case where A has a linking error. For example, it tries to import a binding from C that does not exist. In that case, the above steps still occur, including the early return from the second call to inner module linking on A. However, once we unwind back to the original inner module linking on A, it fails during initialize environment, namely right after C resolve export. The thrown syntax error exception propagates up to a link, which resets all modules that are currently on its stack. These are always exactly the modules that are still linking. Hence both A and B become unlinked. Note that C is left as linked. 80. Copyright sign, ECMA International 2024. Alternatively, consider a case where A has an evaluation error. For example, its source code throws an exception. In that case, the evaluation time analog of the above steps still occurs, including the early return from the second call to inner module evaluation on A. However, once we unwind back to the original inner module evaluation on A, it fails by assumption. The exception thrown propagates up to evaluate, which records the error in all modules that are currently on its stack. That is, the modules that are still evaluating, as well as via, which form a chain for modules which contain or depend on top. Level await through the whole dependency graph through the async module execution rejected algorithm. Hence both A and B become evaluated and the exception is recorded in both A and B's fields, while C is left as evaluated with no. Lastly, consider a module graph with a cycle, where all modules complete asynchronously. Figure 5. An asynchronous cyclic module graph. Capital A, B, C, D. Loading and linking happen as before, and all modules end up with set to linked. Calling evaluate calls in a module evaluation on A, B, and E, which all transition to evaluating. Then in a module evaluation is called on A again, which is a no-op because it is already evaluating. At this point, D is 0, so execute async module D is called and we call the execute module with a new promise capability tracking the asynchronous execution of D. We unwind back to the inner module evaluation on B, setting B to 1 and B to true. We unwind back to the original inner module evaluation on A, setting it to 1. In the next iteration of the loop over A's dependencies, we call in a module evaluation on C and thus on D, again in no-op, and E as E has no dependencies and is not part of a cycle, we call execute async module E. In the same manner as D and E is immediately removed from the stack, We unwind once more to the original inner module evaluation on A, setting C to true. Now we finish the loop over A's dependencies, set A to true, and remove the entire strongly connected component from the stack, transitioning all of the modules to evaluating async at once. At this point, the fields of the modules are as given in Table 46. Table 46. Module fields after the initial evaluate. Call fields modules capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D, capital E, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluating async, async evaluation, true, 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 async parent modules, double angle quotation mark, A, B, C, pending async dependencies, B and C, D and D, ECMA International 2024, 81. Let us assume that he finishes executing first. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called, I is set to evaluated and C is decremented to become 1. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 47. Table 47. Module fields after module finishes executing. Fields modules capital C, capital E, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluating async, evaluated, async evaluation, true, true, async parent modules, A, C, pending async dependencies, D is next to finish, as it was the only module that was still executing. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called again and D is set to evaluated. Then B is decremented to become 0, execute async module is called on B, and it starts executing. C is also decremented to become 0, and C starts executing, potentially in parallel to B if B contains an OY. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 48. Table 48. Module fields after module D finishes executing. Fields modules capital B, capital C, capital D, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluating async, evaluating async, evaluated, async evaluation, true, 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 async parent modules, A, B, C, pending async dependencies. Let us assume that C finishes executing next. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called again, C is set to evaluated and A is decremented to become 1. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 49. Table 49. Module fields after module C finishes executing. Fields modules capital A, capital C, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluating async, evaluated, 82, ECMA International 2024. Table 49. Module fields after module C finishes executing. Continued. Fields modules capital A, capital C, async evaluation, true, true, async parent modules, double angle quotation mark, A, pending async dependencies, B, then, B finishes executing. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called again and B is set to evaluated. A is decremented to become 0, so execute async module is called and it starts executing. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 50. Table 50. Module fields after module B finishes executing. Fields modules capital A, capital B, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluating async, evaluated, async evaluation, true, true, async parent modules, double angle quotation mark, A, pending async dependencies. Finally, A finishes executing. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called again and A is set to evaluated. At this point, the promise in A, which was returned from A evaluate, is resolved, and this concludes the handling of this module graph. The fields of the updated module are as given in Table 51. Table 51. Module fields after module A finishes executing. Fields modules capital A, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluated, async evaluation, true, async parent modules, double angle quotation mark, pending async dependencies. Alternatively, consider a failure case where C fails execution and returns an error before B has finished executing. When that happens, async module execution rejected is called, which sets C to evaluated and ECMA International 2024 383, C to the error. It then propagates this error to all of the async parent modules by performing async module execution rejected on each of them. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 52. Table 52. Module fields after module C finishes with an error. Fields, modules, capital A, capital C, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluated, asyn, C evaluation, true, async parent modules. Double angle quotation mark A, pending async dependencies, B, evaluation error, empty, C's evaluation error, A will be rejected with the same error as C, since C will call async module execution rejected on A with C's error. A is set to evaluated. At this point the promise in A, which was returned from A evaluate, is rejected. The fields of the updated module are as given in Table 53. Table 53. Module fields after module A is rejected. Fields, modules, capital A, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluated, async evaluation, true, async parent modules, double angle quotation mark, pending async dependencies, evaluation error, C's evaluation error, then, B finishes executing without an error. When that happens, async module execution fulfilled is called again and B is set to evaluated. Gather available ancestors is called on B. However, A is a which has an evaluation error, so it will not be added to the returned sorted exec list, and async module execution fulfilled will return without further processing. Any future importer of B will resolve the rejection of B from the evaluation error from C that was set on the cycle route A. The fields of the updated modules are as given in Table 54. 84. Copyright sign, ECMA International 2024. Table 54. Module fields after module B finishes executing in an erroring graph. Fields, modules, capital A, capital B, DFS index, DFS ancestor index, status, evaluated, async evaluation, true, async parent modules, double angle quotation mark A, pending async dependencies, evaluation error, C's evaluation error, empty, 6, 2, 1. 6 source text module records. A source text module record is used to represent information about a module that was defined from ECMA script source text. 11. That was parsed using the goal symbol module. Its fields contain digested information about the names that are imported and exported by the module, and its concrete methods use these digests to link and evaluate the module. A source text module record can exist in a module graph with other subclasses of the abstract module record type, and can participate in cycles with other subclasses of the cyclic module record type, in addition to the fields defined in Table 43. Source text module records have the additional fields listed in Table 55. Each of these fields is initially set in parse module. Table 55. Additional fields of source text module records. Field name, value type, meaning, ECMA script code, a parse node. The result of parsing the source text of this module using module as the goal symbol. Context, an ECMA script code execution context or empty. The execution context associated with this module. It is empty until the module's environment has been initialized. Import meter, an object, or empty, an object exposed through the import meter meta property. It is empty until it is accessed by ECMA script code. Import entries, a list of import entry records. A list of import entry records derived from the code of this module. Local export entries, a list of export entry records. A list of export entry records derived from the code of this module that correspond to declarations that occur within the module. Indirect export entries, a list of export entry records. A list of export entry records derived from the code of this module that correspond to re-exported imports that occur within the module or exports from exporters' namespace declarations. ECMA International 2024. 85. Table 55. Additional fields of source text module records. Continued. An import entry record is a record that digests information about a single declarative import. Each import entry record has the fields defined in Table 56. Table 56. Import entry record fields. Field name. Value type. Meaning. Star export entries. A list of export entry records. A list of export entry records derived from the code of this module that correspond to export declarations that occur within the module, not including exporter's namespace declarations. Field name. Value type. Meaning. Module request. A string. String value of the module specifier of the import declaration. Import name. A string or namespace object. The name under which the desired binding is exported by the module identified by. The value namespace object indicates that the import request is for the target module's namespace object. Local name. A string. The name that is used to locally access the imported value from within the importing module. Note 1. Table 57 gives examples of import entry records fields used to represent the syntactic import forms. Table 57. Informative. Import forms mappings to import entry records. Import statement form. Module request. Import name. Local name. Import v from mod. Mod default. V. Import as ns from mod. Mod namespace object. Ns. Import x from mod. Mod x. X. Import x as v from mod. Mod x v. Import mod. An import entry record is not created. An export entry record is a record that digests information about a single declarative export. Each export entry record has the fields defined in Table 58. 86. Copyright sign. ECMA International 2024. Table 58. Export entry record fields. Field name. Value type. Meaning. Export name. A string or null. The name used to export this binding by this module. Module request. A string or null. The string value of the module specifier of the export declaration null if the export declaration does not have a module specifier. Import name. A string. Null. All. Or all but default. The name under which the desired binding is exported by the module identified by null if the export declaration does not have a module spec. I fear. All is used for export as ns from mod declarations. All but default is used for export from mod declarations. Local name. A string or null. The name that is used to locally access the exported value from within the importing module. Null if the exported value is not locally accessible from within the module. Note 2. Table 59 gives examples of the export entry record fields used to represent the syntactic export forms. Table 59. Informative. Export forms mappings to export entry records. Export statement form. Export name. Module request. Import name. Local name. Export var v. Null. Null v. Export default. Function f. Default. Null. Null f. Export default. Function. Default. Null. Null default. Export default. 2. Default. Null. Null default. Export. X. X. Null. Null x. Export. V as x. X. Null. Null v. Export. X. From mod x. Mod x. Null. Export. V as x. From mod x. Mod v. Null. Export from mod. Null. Mod all but default. Null. Export as ns. From mod. Ns. Mod all. Null. The following definitions specify the required concrete methods and other abstract operations for source text module records. ECMA International 2024 387. 6. 2. 1. 6. 1 parse module. Source text. Realm. Host defined. The abstract operation parse module takes arguments source text, ECMA script source text, realm, a realm record, and host defined anything and returns a source text module record or a non-empty list of syntax error objects. It creates a source text module record based upon the result of parsing source text as a module. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let body be parse text, source text, module. 2. If body is a list of errors, return body. 3. Let requested modules be the module requests of body. 4. Let import entries be import entries of body. 5. Let imported bound names be imported local names, import entries. 6. Let indirect export entries be a new empty list. 7. Let local export entries be a new empty list. 8. Let star export entries be a new empty list. 9. Let export entries be export entries of body. 10. For each export entry record EE of export entries. Do if EE is null, then, if imported bound names does not contain EE, then 1. Append IE to local export entries. 2. Else 1. Let IE be the element of import entries whose is IE. 2. If IE is namespace object, then a note. This is a re-export of an imported module namespace object. B. Append IE to local export entries. Else a note. This is a re-export of a single name. B. Append the export entry record, i.e. import name, i.e. null EE, to indirect export entries. B. Else if EE is all but default, then I assert EE is null. 2. Append IE to star export entries. C. Else I append IE to indirect export entries. 11. Let async B body contains await. 12. Return source text module record, realm, empty, empty, cycle root, empty, async, false, empty, empty, new, empty, host defined, body, empty, empty, requested modules, import entries, local export entries, indirect export entries, star export entries, empty, empty, 6, 2, 1, 6, to get exported names, export star set. The get exported names concrete method of a source text module record module takes optional argument export star set, a list of source text module records, and returns a list of strings. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert module is not new. 2. If export star set is not present, set export star set to a new empty list. 3. If export star set contains module, then note an implementation map parse module source text and analyze it for early error conditions prior to the evaluation of parse module for that module source text. However, the reporting of any errors must be deferred until the point where this specification actually performs parse module upon that source text. 88. ECMA International 2024. Assert. We've reached the starting point of an export circularity. B. Return a new empty list. 4. Append module to export star set. 5. Let exported names be a new empty list. 6. For each export entry record of module, do assert. Module provides the direct binding for this export. B. Assert. It is not null. C. Append to exported names. 7. For each export entry record of module, do assert. Module imports a specific binding for this export. B. Assert. It is not null. C. Append to exported names. 8. For each export entry record of module, do assert. It is not null. B. Let requested module be get imported module. Module. E. C. Let star names be requested module get exported names. Export star set. D. For each element n of star names, do I have same value. N. Default is false. Then, if exported names does not contain n, then A. Append n to exported names. 9. Return exported names. 6, 2, 1, 6, 3. Resolve export. Export name. Resolve set. The resolve export concrete method of a source text module record module takes argument export name, a string, and optional argument resolve set, a list of records with fields, a module record, and a string, and returns a resolved binding record, null, or ambiguous. Resolve export attempts to resolve an imported binding to the actual defining module and local binding name. The defining module may be the module represented by the module record. This method was invoked on or some other module that is imported by that module. The parameter resolve set is used to detect unresolved circular import-export paths. If a pair consisting of specific module record and export name is reached that is already in resolve set, an import circularity has been encountered. Before recursively calling resolve export, a pair consisting of module and export name is added to resolve set. If a defining module is found, a resolved binding record is returned. This record identifies the resolved binding of the originally requested export, unless this is the export of a namespace with no local binding. In this case, will be set to namespace. If no definition was found or the request is found to be circular, null is returned. If the request is found to be ambiguous, ambiguous is returned. performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert. Module is not new. 2. If resolve set is not present, set resolve set to a new empty list. 3. For each record R of resolve set, do if module and R are the same module record and same value, export name R is true, then I assert this is a circular import request. 2. Return null. 4. Append the record module export name to resolve set. 5. For each export entry record E of module, do if same value, export name E is true, then I assert module provides the direct binding for this export. 2. Return resolved binding record module E. For each export entry record E of module, do if same value, export name E is true, then ECMA International 2024 389. Note: get exported names does not filter out or throw an exception for names that have ambiguous star export bindings. I assert E is not null. 2. Let imported module be get imported module E. 3. If E is all, then 1. Assert module does not provide the direct binding for this export. 2. Return resolved binding record imported module namespace I've else. 1. Assert module imports a specific binding for this export. 2. Return imported module resolve export E resolve set. 7. If same value, export name default is true, then I assert a default export was not explicitly defined by this module. B return null. 8c. Note: a default export cannot be provided by an export from mod declaration. 9. Let star resolution be null. 10. For each export entry record E of module, do I assert E is not null. B let imported module be get imported module E. C let resolution be imported module resolve export name resolve set. D if resolution is ambiguous, return ambiguous. E if resolution is not null, then I assert resolution is a resolved binding record. 2. If star resolution is null, then set star resolution to resolution 3. Else. 1. Assert there is more than one import that includes the requested name. 2. If resolution and star resolution are not the same module record, return ambiguous. 3. If resolution is not star resolution and either resolution or star resolution is namespace, return ambiguous. 4. If resolution is a string, star resolution is a string, and same value, resolution, star resolution, is false, return ambiguous. 0. Return star resolution. 6. 2. 1. 6. 4. Initialize environment. The initialize environment concrete method of a source text module record module takes no arguments and returns either a normal completion containing unused or a throw completion. It performs the following steps when called. 1. For each export entry record E of module, do I assert E is not null. B let resolution be module resolve export E. See if resolution is either null or ambiguous, throw a syntax error exception. D assert resolution is a resolved binding record. 2. Assert all named exports from module are resolvable. 3. Let realm be module. 4. Assert realm is not undefined. 5. Let env be new module environment realm. 6. Set module to env. 7. For each import entry record in of module, do a let imported module be get imported module in be if in is namespace object, then I let namespace be get module namespace imported module. 2. Perform env create immutable binding in true. 3. Perform env initialize binding in namespace 8c else 90. ECMA International 2024. I2. Let resolution be imported module resolve export in if resolution is either null or ambiguous, throw a syntax error exception. 3. If resolution is namespace, then 1. Let namespace be get module namespace resolution. 2. Perform env create immutable binding in true. 3. Perform env initialize binding in namespace I've else perform env create import binding in resolution. Resolution 8. Let module context be a new ECMA script code execution context. 9. Set the function of module context to null. 10. Assert module is not undefined. 11. Set the realm of module context to module. 12. Set the script or module of module context to module. 13. Set the variable environment of module context to module. 14. Set the lexical environment of module context to module. 15. Set the private environment of module context to null. 16. Set module to module context. 17. Push module context onto the execution context stack. Module context is now the running execution context. 18. Let code be module. 19. Let var declarations be the var scope declarations of code. 20. Let declared var names be a new empty list. 21. For each element D of var declarations, do a for each element dn of the bound names of D, do I if declared var names does not contain dn, then 1. Perform env create mutable binding, dn, false. 2. Perform env initialize binding, dn, undefined. 3. Append dn to declared var names. 22. Let lex declarations be the lexically scoped declarations of code. 23. Let private env be null. 24. For each element D of lex declarations, do a for each element dn of the bound names of D, do if this constant declaration of D is true, then perform env create immutable binding, dn, true 2. Else perform env create mutable binding, dn, false. 3. If D is either a function declaration, a generator declaration, an async function declaration, or an async generator declaration, then 1. Let fo be instantiate function object of D with arguments env and private env. 2. Perform env initialize binding, dn, fo. 25. Remove module context from the execution context stack. 26. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 6. 5. Execute module capability. The execute module concrete method of a source text module record module takes optional argument capability, a promise capability record, and returns either a normal completion containing unused or a throw completion. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Let module context be a new ECMA script code execution context. 2. Set the function of module context to null. 3. Set the realm of module context to module. 4. Set the script or module of module context to module. 5. Assert module has been linked and declarations in its module environment have been instantiated. 6. Set the variable environment of module context to module. 7. Set the lexical environment of module context to module. 8. Suspend the running execution context. 9. If a module is false, then A. Assert capability is not present. B. Push module context onto the execution context stack. Module context is now the running execution context. C. Let result be completion. Evaluation of module. ECMA International 2024 391. D. Suspend module context and remove it from the execution context stack. E. Resume the context that is now on the top of the execution context stack as the running execution. Context. If result is an abrupt completion, then I return result 10. Else, A. Assert capability is a promise capability record. B. Perform a sync block start capability module context. 1. Return unused. 6. 2. 1. 7. Get imported module referrer specifier. The abstract operation get imported module takes arguments referrer, a cyclic module record, and specifier, a string, and returns a module record. It performs the following steps when called. 1. Assert. Exactly one element of referrer is a record whose is specifier, since load requested modules has completed successfully on referrer prior to invoking this abstract operation. 2. Let record be the record in referrer whose is specifier. 3. Return record 6, 2, 1. 8 host load imported module, referrer, specifier, host defined, payload. The host defined abstract operation host load imported module takes arguments referrer, a script record, a cyclic module record, or a realm record, specifier, a string, host defined anything, and payload. A graph loading state record or a promise capability record, and returns unused. Note an example of when referrer can be a realm record is in a web browser host. There, if a user clicks on a control given by button type equals button on click equals import, foo mjs, click me, button. There will be no active script or module at the time the import expression runs. More generally, this can happen in any situation where the host pushes execution contexts with null script or module components onto the execution context stack. An implementation of host load imported module must conform to the following requirements. The host environment must perform finish loading imported module, referrer, specifier, payload, result, where result is either a normal completion containing the loaded module record or a throw completion, either synchronously or asynchronously. If this operation is called multiple times with the same referrer, specifier, pair and it performs finish loading imported module, referrer, specifier, payload, result, where result is a normal completion. Then it must perform finish loading imported module, referrer, specifier, payload, result, with the same result each time. The operation must treat payload as an opaque value to be passed through to finish loading imported module. The actual process performed is host defined, but typically consists of performing whatever I/O operations are necessary to load the appropriate module record. Multiple different referrer, specifier, pairs may map to the same module record instance. The actual mapping semantics is host defined but typically in normal is. Action process is applied to specifier as part of the mapping process. A typical normalization process would include actions such as expansion of relative and abbreviated path specifiers. 92. Copyright sign, ECMA International 2024. 6, 2, 1, 9 Finish loading imported module, referrer, specifier, payload, result. The abstract operation finish loading imported module takes arguments referrer, a script record, a cyclic module record, or a realm record, specifier, a string, payload, a graph loading state record or a promise capability record, and result. Either a normal completion containing a module record or a throw completion, and returns unused. It performs the following steps when called. If result is a normal completion, then if referrer contains a record whose is specifier, then I assert that records is result be else. I append the record, specifier, result, to referrer. If payload is a graph loading state record, then a perform continue module loading, payload, result, else. A perform continue dynamic import, payload, result, return unused. 6, 2, 1, 1, 0. Get module namespace. Module. The abstract operation get module namespace takes argument module, an instance of a concrete subclass of module record, and returns a module namespace object or empty. It retrieves the module namespace object representing modules exports, lazily creating it the first time it was requested, and storing that in module for future retrieval. It performs the following steps when called. One. Assert. If module is a cyclic module record, then module is not new or unlinked. 2. Let namespace be module. 3. If namespace is empty, then a let exported names be module get exported names, b let unambiguous names be a new empty list. C for each element name of exported names, do I let resolution be module resolve export name. 2. If resolution is a resolved binding record, append name to unambiguous names. D set namespace to module namespace create module unambiguous names. 4. Return namespace. 6, 2, 1, 1, 1. Runtime semantics. Evaluation module empty. Return undefined. Module body. Module item list. 1. Let result be completion. Evaluation of module item list. 2. If result is a normal completion and result is empty, then a return undefined. 3. Return result. Module item list. Module item list. Module item. 1. Let SL be evaluation of module item list. 2. Let S be completion. Evaluation of module item. 3. Return. Update empty. S. SL. Note get module namespace never throws. Instead, unresolvable names are simply excluded from the namespace at this point. They will lead to a real linking error later unless they are all ambiguous star exports that are not explicitly requested anywhere. ECMA International 2024 393. Note the value of a module item list is T. The value of the last value producing item in the module item list. Module item. Import declaration. Return empty 1 6. 2. 2. Import syntax. Import declaration. Import clause from clause. Import module specifier. Import clause. Imported default binding. Namespace import. Named imports. Imported default binding. Namespace import. Imported default binding. Named imports. Imported default binding. Imported binding. Namespace import. As imported binding. Named imports. Imports list. Imports list. From clause. From module specifier. Imports list. Import specifier. Imports list. Import specifier. Import specifier. Imported binding. Module export name as imported binding module specifier. String literal imported binding. Binding identifier. Yield. Plus await. 1 6. 2. 2. 1 static semantics. Early errors. Module item. Import declaration. It is a syntax error if the bound names of import declaration contains any duplicate entries. 94. Copyright sign. ECMA International 2024. 6. 2. 2. 2 static semantics. Import entries. The syntax-directed operation import entries takes no arguments and returns a list of import entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Module. Empty. Return a new empty list. Module item list. Module item list. Module item. 1. Let entries 1 be import entries of module item list. 2. Let entries 2 be import entries of module item. 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2. Module item. Export declaration. Statement list item. Return a new empty list. Import declaration. Import clause from clause. 1. Let module be the sole element of module requests of from clause. 2. Return import entries for module of import clause with argument module. Import declaration. Import module specifier. 1. Return a new empty list. 6. 2. 3 static semantics. Import entries for module. The syntax-directed operation import entries for module takes argument module, a string, and returns a list of import entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions. Import clause. Imported default binding. Namespace import. 1. Let entries 1 be import entries for module of imported default binding with argument module. 2. Let entries 2 be import entries for module of namespace import with argument module. 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2. Import clause. Imported default binding. Named imports. 1. Let entries 1 be import entries for module of imported default binding with argument module. 2. Let entries 2 be import entries for module of named imports with argument module. 3. Return the list concatenation of entries 1 and entries 2. Imported default binding. Imported binding. 1. Let local name be the sole element of bound names of imported binding. 2. Let default entry be the import entry record, module, default. Local name. Local name. 3. Return default entry. Namespace import, as imported binding. 1. Let local name be the string value of imported binding. 2. Let entry be the import entry record, module, namespace object. Local name. Local name. 3. Return entry. ECMA International 2024 395. Named imports. Return a new empty list. Imports list. Imports list. Import specifier. 1. Let specs 1 be the import entries for module of imports list with argument module. 2. Let specs 2 be the import entries for module of import specifier with argument module. 3. Return the list concatenation of specs 1 and specs 2. Import specifier. Imported binding. 1. Let local name be the sole element of bound names of imported binding. 2. Let entry be the import entry record, module, local name. Local name. Local name. Three. Return entry. Import specifier, module export name as imported binding. 1. Let import name be the string value of module export name. 2. Let local name be the string value of imported binding. 3. Let entry be the import entry record, module, local name, local name. 4. Return entry. 6. 2. 3. Export syntax. Export declaration.
Okay, so I'm like terrified to turn on the computer
Export named exports. Export
because I changed a couple settings.
await. Export declaration.
And I have a feeling that it might not boot up. So,
Plus await.
I don't want to turn it back on. Because if I fucked up the Linux install,
Plus default. Export.
I can make a backup, but I'm gonna have to restart the whole process of installing the thing again, at least to the stupid drive. I can't copy files over and figure it out again. It'll be quicker. I do not
Clause.
want to do another fucking install.
Named export.
I have a feeling it might not boot. Because it got stuck last time, kinda hanged. Like it hung while I was booting up, it was like stuck. And YouTube is doing something with the video now.
Name as module.
I tried to get better color, higher resolution,
Semantics.
because I kind of set it up last time, just left it. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try to get the color better, whatever.
Syntax error if reference, but
So I wasted like 2 or 3 hours setting up a stupid,
comma for each identifier name n in referenced bindings of named exports. It is a syntax
a stupid lookup table.
value of n is one of
It's like this is without the lookup table. This is with the lookup table. That took way too long to color correct. Way too long.
exported binder.
And I changed the settings, and now that I have better picture quality, I'm assuming. I hope the audio didn't just drop like that when I switched the mouse. And maybe it did.
Strings. It is defined piecewise over the following productions.
If I go to the settings here for the video,
Module item list. Module item list. Module item.
I go to quality. It got clamped to 1080.
Item list.
The higher the quality of the video,
Names to be exported.
they drop it. They drop it from 4K to 180. But they also compress it on top of dropping it. And they don't only compress it. They do like some lazy, I don't know. This is like extremely blurry on top of the blurry that already was. So I don't know.
Export from clause. One.
It is so annoying. You're literally... YouTube cannot handle streaming 4K video in the first place. They can't handle providing it in the second place. In third place, they can't even store that much data. They're all fucking talk. I don't know. It's so annoying. Why the fuck do they claim
Declaration.
it's part all shit they can't even fucking do? So I don't know. The 4K resolution is bigger. It has less color detail, except it does have more pixels and it's more clear than 180 that's compressed, because it has less pixels, it has more color, but it has less pixels, so it's not as sharp. So it doesn't matter if it has more color because it's not as sharp, and it's already blurry in the first place because the software compresses the fuck out of the fucking video.
Names.
So I don't know. There's a punishment for trying to send higher quality video,
Or 397.
because streaming services can't fucking do what they make it sound like they can fucking do.
Turn a new empty list.
Just like this fucking standard in how the web browser can't even meet a goddamn standard.
1.
Trillions of dollars.
Exported bindings of exports list.
Can't even go through 816 fucking pages to meet a standard. They can't even fix the leaks in the web browser. They don't give a fuck about the customer. They can't even serve video at 4K resolution. They can't even store it. They're literally the definition of mediocre. It is ridiculous.
Export name.
Anyways, I'm end the stream. I'm gonna start up another one. I have to change the fucking picture color settings and drop it because I want 4K. The 4K is better than 180. That's super condensed and super compressed.
The syntax directed
I just can't get the full color, whatever.
of strings.
So this is a big waste of my time. For fuck's sake. And I'm trying to fucking set up Linux for fucking shit.
List. Module item list.
Everything is subpar. I need some water.
Exported names of module item.
Bunch of dick suckers.
Let names to be exported names of module item. 3.
So, I'm gonna
Names to module
I don't want to turn this computer, it's probably not gonna boot.
exported names of
I'm gonna let it time out for 10 minutes and I'll be back on another stream. I gotta tweak the color settings so they won't compress the fuck out of it. And then I'm gonna turn on this computer and try to get the fucking keys, the fucking shortcuts working. I'm so close, but I probably fucked up the install. I can't keep stalling. I gotta turn on the computer now. It's been too long. So I don't know. I'm gonna start another stream and then blah blah blah. I'll be in the next stream. I gotta mess with the color settings. And YouTube sucks dick.
Visible names.
They suck subpar dick. I mean, there's nothing more insulting than telling someone they suck subpar dick. Because what could be worse than dick that's subpar? Well, I don't know. This JavaScript engine that Google has could be.
Found names of variable statement.
I mean, they couldn't even meet the standard in 2009 when it was only 252 pages. So like, if they couldn't do it back then, it's understandable why they can't meet any standard now, and I totally understand why they're subpar and why they can't serve 4K video and why they can't store 4K video. It's because they suck dick.
List. Exports list.
Don't forget to like promote my video, YouTube, you dick suckers. Alright, I'm gonna start another stream right after this. I'm gonna time off for a minute. I'll be next stream.
Let names 2 be the export.
I'm not gonna be sucking dick.
3.
But I know who is.
Names 1 and name.
YouTube. A bunch of subpar dick.
Fire. Module export name. Return a list whose sole element is the string value of module export name. Export specifier. Module export name as module.
I don't know, by the time off for like 3 minutes.
The second module export name.
I really hope this thing turns on.
4 static semantics.
Like your mom turns on.
Directed operation.
Like a light switch.
Arguments and returns a list of export entry records. It is defined piecewise over the following productions.
Why did the sound stop working?
Module. Empty.
I'm gonna restart all the computers. Fucking subpar. That's my new word. That's my middle name. Oh, my middle name is Top Par. The Top Par. Subpar is for dick suckers. Like YouTube. Promote me, YouTube. Don't forget to promote my videos. JK, suck a dick. I might just make my own web browser and fuck you guys over. I'm gonna like bend you over and spank you. Don't forget to promote me. Promote my videos. Thank you, YouTube. Psych. Okay, I'm actually gone now. You're going up with your mom. This computer better fucking turn on. I swear to God. If it doesn't boot up, I'm gonna elope a potato. That doesn't make any sense.